Throughout all of 2023 so far, we've been witnessing G2's domination. They won in Katowice, got a foothold in first place of HLTV's ratings, and have the highest chance to win the upcoming Paris Major. We've been wanting to try a new kind of video for a while now, and it seems like now is the best time for it. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, because you're watching CYBERSHOKE, and today we'll tell you the story of all of G2's players wrapped up into one video. Hunter. Nemanja Hunter Kovac is a brother of NiKo. Nikola was considered a very talented player ever since the very start of his career, but Nemanja wasn't so lucky in getting quickly noticed by any top-tier organizations. For a long time, Hunter was playing in the Balkan pro scene and couldn't even get into some strong local team. For more than a year, he played in GamePub. They made it to the top 100 just one time and never won a single online tournament. Here, for instance, they lost a game against the all-female team Games for You. Now, we 100% support female esports, and we're very happy with its development. But back then, the skill gap between male and female teams was so enormous that GamePub's loss perfectly demonstrates how poor they were playing at that time. Nemanja had zero plans on staying at that level, so he trained a lot to try and become a better player. He visited LANs with mixes and didn't skip a single opportunity to play some competitive CS. Here, for example, he was eliminated from the World Championship by losing to a relatively weak Icelandic team. But still, the fact that Hunter decided to play at that tournament in the first place says a lot about his dedication. Fortunately, his work finally began to pay off. Hunter's rating for GamePub averaged to 1.14, and he got noticed by a Serbian Tier 3 team called iNation. This was a big boost for Nemanja because now he played a lot of HLTV tournaments and was practicing with the best teams in the world. Hunter continued to work hard and perfectly fit into the roster, while iNation slowly but surely began to rise in rank in HLTV ratings. They started to win some Tier 3 tournaments and become a worthy competitor against many strong teams. Here, for example, they beat Top 18 Flipside on one map, and here they crushed Top 25 Big. In March 2017, CIS organization Binary Dragon signed them, which came with a bigger salary, and the guys continue to grow. After half a year, they were sold to the Croatian org Valiance, which would later be rebranded to Crazy. By that time, NiKo was easily outplaying Tier 1 teams, while Hunter still had to put in a lot of hard work to make it into the Tier 2 level. Seeing the progress that his brother made didn't cause Nemanja to tilt, but on the contrary, gave him more motivation to improve. By the spring of 2018, Valiance entered the top 30 on HLTV with just one replacement, and then the org decided to completely rework its roster. The managers looked through the team and decided that most of the players just wouldn't be able to handle the new level. So they kicked 3 players, got some investments, and signed Nexa, Esperanto, and Otoned. In a way, they became a whole new team that day, and got knocked way down to number 80 in HLTV. But luckily, the decision to revamp the roster was the right call. In just a few months, they made it to the top 20, and in May 2019, they became the 14th strongest team in the world. The first big success that Crazy achieved happened in the fall of 2018. They qualified to the European Minor, finished in second place, and qualified to the Major, where they fell just short of making it to the playoffs. It was at that moment that G2 faced some big problems. A couple of their players lost their touch and weren't performing well enough to progress the team forward. So they decided to take a bit of a risk and sign Nexa and Hunter from Crazy to join G2. That's how our hero got onto the team. It happened on September 30th, 2019, 3.5 years ago as of the making of this video. NiKo. Let's stop in on the Kovac family for a while and talk about one of the best players in CSGO history, NiKo. Nikola is one of those people who you can just tell has some natural-born talent to play this game. Of course, even talented people still need lots of hard work and dedication, so we're not saying that NiKo just got a lucky break, but you see, from the very beginning of his career and to this day, Kovac performs unbelievably good, and we can't just brush that off. Like his brother Hunter, Nikola started his career out in some weak Serbian teams. He even played 1.6 for some time while only at the age of 14. But real success awaited him in CSGO. If you look at Kovac's team history, you'll see that at the beginning, he switched teams quite a lot. For example, he left and came back to iNation 5 times. The turning point for NiKo is when he signed a contract with Mouse in 2015. They were the first to believe in his talent and decided to give him a chance at the top-tier level. But in just 3 months, they took that opportunity back. Mouse decided to build a German-speaking roster, so NiKo was benched. Even with the fact that he carried every second game, that wasn't enough to keep him on the team. Fortunately for Kovac, Mouse's idea failed miserably, so they decided to get NiKo back on the server before some top team snatched him up. There, a very long chapter of NiKo's career began. He would play for Mouse for almost 2 years, becoming one of the best CSGO riflers. You know, that Forge of Talent reputation of Mouse actually started with NiKo. Today, they're known as a proxy team that finds talented players, turns them into lean, mean fragging machines, and then they'll leave to join some other team. Of course, Mouse aren't really happy about this, but that's the truth. It was obvious to everyone that NiKo felt a bit tight in Mouse. In 2016, he became the 3rd best player by HLTV's ratings 2.0, but in the annual top, he was only ranked at 11th place. Why? Well, because the results of his team just couldn't match his skill level. That year, Mouse didn't make it to the major playoffs even once, and were eliminated from all the big lands before the semifinals. So for FaZe, whose motto was, "We don't care how many changes we'll make, but we'll sign the best players in the world," our hero was a perfect match. Everyone just knew that the next logical step for NiKo would have to be FaZe, not any other team. They signed a contract in February 2017. In the new org, Kovac managed to reveal his true potential, and those good results didn't take long to appear. The guys made it to the grand finals on their very first big LAN, and on the second, they won the whole event. Even though FaZe had a tough time on the Krakow Major, they were still one of the best teams in the world, and NiKo was named the 2nd best player of 2017. Things were going great. They made a mini era for themselves, won a lot of big tournaments, and even got 2nd place on one major. But there was one thing that NiKo couldn't stop thinking about. You see, Nikola and Nemanja Kovac aren't just brothers, they're best friends. The guys played a lot of Face It together, and sometimes even participated in some local tournaments together just for fun. Earlier, they couldn't play on the same team because of their skill gap, but now everything changed. Hunter was playing for G2 now, one of the best teams in the world, and was showing some high-tier CS. So the two brothers realized that they could bring their old dream to life and finally play together. There was just one question: will NiKo move to G2 or Hunter join FaZe? They decided to go with NiKo moving to G2. Of course, G2 were more than happy to find a spot for one of the best players in the world. So on October 28, 2018, NiKo signed his contract. Monase. We want you to meet Ilya Osipov, a future world champion from the suburbs of Moscow. This lad is so cool and popular that the most viewed video on our channel is his biography, and this is why we won't go into too much detail about his career here. Why repeat ourselves when you can just check out that video that covers everything? But in short, here is Ilya's story. He was born in 2005 in Orkova, Suyevwa, and started to play CS thanks to his brother Andriy. Back then, Ilya already demonstrated his talent, easily beating all of his classmates. Once Monase got a new, more powerful PC, he made it into the semi-pro scene. His first team was the Moscow New Balls. Ilya got noticed by the CIS scout Rufire, who decided to give this guy a chance. By the way, do you know how these two guys met each other? On Twitch chat. The guys trained a lot and showed some good results on local tournaments. They even got signed by S-Gaming, but pretty soon one serious problem popped up. You see, the team obviously wanted to participate in open qualifiers for big lands, but they couldn't because of Monase being too young, so they said goodbye to Ilya. It's worth mentioning that even back then, our hero gave a lot of attention to media activities. He streamed a lot and gathered hundreds and later thousands of viewers on his Twitch. People were just eager to see how this 14-year-old positive kid would regularly destroy pro players on Face It. The turning point for Ilya was Navi Jr. He went there in January 2020, but in April he was transferred to Navi Youth, a team that rarely even appeared on HLTV. Back then, Monase already crushed every opponent in official games, and his transfer cost was estimated at $350,000. In December 2021, Navi transfer listed Ilya, and G2 showed a serious interest in signing him. The Spanish org decided to risk it and sign a young sniper from Russia. And as it turned out, that decision was more than right. Today, Monase is the second best G2 player after NiKo. By the way, at the moment of publishing this video, Ilya has almost 7,000 elo on Faceit, with a 63% win rate. HooXi. Being on the Tier 1 scene for just a few months, HooXi already became a CSGO legend. But how? Well, let's find out. The beginning of Rasmus's career actually is quite sad. He's always been a pretty hardcore captain that gives his all to his team, completely ignoring his own stats. He took on the dirtiest roles and always dropped guns for the better sharpshooters on the team. In a way, he was a coach in the player spot. This approach can work, and some top-tier teams use it, but the problem for HooXi was that he was playing at the Tier 3 level. And what is Tier 3 if not changes after changes and removing players based on their bad stats? But in a way, Rasmus was a misunderstood genius, and even Copenhagen Flames kicked him 3 times. And every time Rasmus came back to the team, he didn't hold any grudges against them, but instead continued to work. He dedicated a lot of time to finding the most promising players, and at some point, Flames' roster was just HooXi and 4 no-names that he picked. But with every passing month, their results got better and better, to the point that Flames became so strong that they made it to the playoffs on Antwerp. At that moment, the organization realized that their team wasn't just some Tier 3 mix anymore, but a formidable Tier 1 machine. So they needed to raise the players' salaries by a lot, but they didn't have the money for it and had no luck in finding any sponsors. So then Flames decided to just disband the team. HooXi understood that he didn't have the time to have to go through the whole process of rising from Tier 3 yet again. So he just waited it out for the perfect offer. And after a few months, it came from G2. They invited him to be their captain. The contract was signed on August 16, 2022. JKS. JKS is arguably the least popular player from G2, but regardless, his role in the team is very important. At the start of his career, JKS faced a similar problem to Hunter's. He became a prisoner to his own region. Hunter could at least play European Faceit, while Justin's situation was far worse. He was stuck on the Australian scene. Now, Australia is a whole continent where competitive CSGO has developed quite poorly. JKS played for the best local teams for a long time. He spent more than 4 years just in Renegades. Justin was performing well in a stable manner and easily got to the top places on local lands, but making it to the international level was a big problem for his team. For a long time, the guys couldn't even make it to the top 20 on HLTV. So they came to the big lands, showed some decent CS there, and went to some boot camps in Europe. In 2019, they even made it to the top 8 on 2 whole majors. But the fact that the organization was based in Australia seemed to be an inescapable problem. Transferring to 100 Thieves and starting to train with EU teams, the Australians unleashed their true potential. For a long time, they were one of the best teams in the world and gave a hard time to any opponent. But when 100 Thieves decided to quit CSGO, that all ended. Then, Justin, being a strong and experienced rifler, received an offer from Complexity. They didn't really win anything noteworthy, but the team managed to get a foothold in HLTV's top 20, so we'll count that as a good result. But in the fall of 2021, the org decided to revamp their roster and sign the promising NA mix, Extra Salt, benching our hero. Winning IEM Katowice as a stand-in for FaZe, JKS received an offer from G2 to become their rifler. Justin accepted and signed his contract on the same day as HooXi. Alright, that's all the players of G2. Again guys, this video has been a test of our new idea. We pick some top-tier team and give a brief introduction of each of the players' stories. Please leave a comment about how you liked it and which team we should do next for the upcoming episode. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, because you are watching CYBERSHOKE. Bye for now.